Alright y'all, psychedelics, let's talk about it. I've referred to it in a couple of my other videos, talking about how it's been helping me heal from chronic Lyme disease and helping me release emotional trauma and all sorts of other stuff. So I never really made a video first talking about like the first time I microdosed, and I've always talked about it thus far about medically and how it's been helping me with my health, but I want to talk about why I started doing it specifically and what I've been experiencing other than just my health and emotionally and spiritually and whatever else. So, gonna talk about it. Here we go. Alright, so why I started doing it. I mentioned this in the other videos, but I really just felt like it was time. It was just time to do it. For years and years I was like, no, it's not time. So, people would often recommend like psychedelics or ask me if I've tried psychedelics when I would tell them, I'm trying to find what I believed. And the reason I didn't do it for so long was because I didn't want, first off, what I wanted, what I hoped would happen at some point in some way was some sort of objective external experience that a supernatural did exist. There's another realm, a possible God, whatever. And I was afraid that if I would, take psychedelics and then hallucinate and experience something life-changing, that I would always kind of look back at it and be, basically say, well, none of that was real. It was just the psychedelics. I was just hallucinating, which I think is a valid point. And, years and years later, I was like, it just kept popping up time and time again. I was like, all right, I think this is something that I need to do. And whatever happens, but I know, if I were to trip like crazy and have some sort of life-changing experience, I feel like I was at a point where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to be able to sort out this stuff, right? I'm going to be able to, like, this is real, this wasn't real, this is something I really felt and was a release, and this is something that I can just say, okay, that was psychedelics. And I even brought it up to a friend of mine that gave them to me, and he's like, you just have to pick apart the things that you feel are for you and the things that are real and then the things that aren't. Something he told me was just like, he went on a trip one time and he felt like he was flying through space. He's like, was I flying through space? He's like, probably not. But the lessons and the things that he gained from that trip are things that he, stuck with him. So I was like, okay, I think that I can, manage this. So started off very slow, still very, very slow in it. And the doses were measured out to 0.25, a quarter of a gram. A typical microdose. Some people have said that's kind of high for a microdose. I feel like that's a pretty solid microdose. But anyway, started off at 0.25 and took the first dose. So right when I took the first dose, I almost immediately felt a calm. And I think that may have been like psychosomatic, just like placebo effect, because there's no way that I instantly felt it the way that I did. But also, I guess it's kind of possible because of my sensitivity to everything just with Lyme disease. So, possible. But I felt like a really, really strong calm, just kind of hung out the rest of the night and meditated a bit. Didn't really get any like crazy sort of aha moments, if you will. Just felt really calm and chill. And then when I went to sleep, I woke up in the middle of the night having a episode of derealization. So basically, way back in 2016, when I had a nervous breakdown and I was in a state of derealization almost all the time, and I was, constantly wondering if I was real and if, everything else was real. And, this is where I got into philosophy, and Rene Descartes' I think therefore I am really helped kind of ground me and ground myself in reality. And so I had always wondered, I'd been like, did I come out of that place, or did I just kind of learn to live life around that? Did I heal from that, or did I just suppress and repress it and didn't really, get anywhere. I just didn't deal with it, and so it's just been in there, in me, those feelings and questioning of reality and what's real. And those feelings came up again, which isn't surprising, but that was really, and it's not surprising because that's really what psychedelics has done for me, is bring up all these repressed, suppressed and repressed emotions and thoughts and feelings. So that was the first thing that came up. And then the next time I microdosed, it was not fun. It was not fun because the first time it was chill, and then I went to sleep, and then I woke up and there was those episodes of depersonalization and derealization, and then I was like, okay, this stuff is bringing up these things in me, so I have to deal with it. The next time I took mushrooms, the feelings of depersonalization and derealization came up immediately, almost immediately, and I was like, oh man, I got to deal with this. I have to deal with this. And I got to say, I didn't know how to deal with it. So I can't, to be honest with you, I don't really remember a whole lot about that second microdose, other than I was just kind of freaking out and anxious, because I'm like, I don't know, I know that I'm on mushrooms right now, but I don't know if this is real, and I just really had to keep myself together. Then the next dose, I was like, maybe I need to be doing something that I like, that I love, while doing this, while microdosing. So I microdosed, and then I went to the studio, had a friend come over, and we were just kind of writing and making music. And it didn't help. And I was like, man, what is going on? Can I please? And I think it didn't help because I was just ignoring the emotions that were coming up. I was trying to escape the things that were coming up. So then I started doing some more research. I started doing some more research on trauma, because my life at that point had just turned upside down. I had a conversation with a clinical psychologist who told me I'd been in a cycle of narcissistic abuse, and my world just really took a turn. Still, coming back from it all and still healing from it all. But I guess it was a better time as any to start microdosing and dealing with the trauma. Because obviously there's only two reasons that it's not obvious, but there's really only two reasons that you fall into narcissistic relationships. It's if you grew up with a narcissistic parent, or you experience childhood trauma of some kind. So dealing with both those things, learning how to deal with both those things, learning how to navigate all of it. Once I did more research on trauma and healing from trauma, I realized and read that trauma and releasing trauma, once all these emotions come, oh my God, okay, I'm gonna get this out. So what I learned was trauma, in order to release it, in order to bring it out, in order to heal, it doesn't matter the modality that you use. It doesn't matter if it's psychedelics, it doesn't matter if it's massage, it doesn't matter if it's talk therapy, it doesn't matter if it's acupuncture, it doesn't matter if it's EMDR, it doesn't matter if it's any healing modality. It doesn't matter if you don't feel safe. Safety is the key. It is the key to healing and releasing trauma. And so I realized, I was like, I need to feel safe in letting these emotions out. Where and how can I feel safe? And when I, started asking myself that question, I realized that at the time I felt safe and I felt like I could let things out if I was outside and walking. So once I figured that out, the next microdose that I took, I left my parents' house. I was living with my parents at the time, and they live in kind of a country-ish area, not a lot of cars passing by or anything, so very quiet place. And I went outside, went for a walk at night, just because Lyme disease, sometimes the sun hurts, and I just process a lot of stuff at night. I'm like a night owl. That's where creativity and all sorts of stuff happen for me. So went out for a walk at night, microdosing. I think this was the third time. I think it might have been the second time that I was at the studio with a friend of mine. But so this, I think this was the third time. Went out for a walk, and let me tell you all, microdosing, having the intention of releasing trauma and working through stuff and being in a safe place where you feel that you can let it all out, I was laughing uncontrollably and crying uncontrollably at the same time. And it was like I was so overwhelmed with gratitude that I was in the amount of pain that I was in, because I knew and I could feel that the person that I'm going to become on the other side of this is going to be unstoppable. And I was able to feel all of that pain, and at the same time just felt gratitude for all of it. It was just this surreal, really just crazy, like dichotomy, yin and yang, just like insane. I can't even describe it with words, the feelings that I felt, but it just kept, I was like the whole walk like that, like an overwhelming sense of gratitude. And just, I remember thinking to myself, I was like, this is home. I am home. I am at peace. It's always been within myself. I have always had the keys to unlock these things. I just haven't given myself the space to do it. And I'm so grateful and glad that now I have. And I really started to be able to let things out. So let me back up a little bit, because I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. I still had to deal with that derealization and depersonalization. And so in dealing with that, basically I came to a point, and it was once I reached this point, it was once I decided this in myself, that I was able to kind of unlock that next step of gratitude and, you know, that healing energy type stuff that I was feeling. Once I decided, I said, okay, this reality is real. There could possibly be other realities that are also real, but that doesn't make this reality that I'm living in right now not real. It doesn't make this reality not real. So once I kind of decided that in my head, and I was like, okay, even if I were to feel like I was leaving my body and going somewhere else, that other place might be real, but it doesn't make this place that I'm in right now not real. This is still very real. And it was once I decided that in myself, once I found, like, I remember sitting at my kitchen table, because I found that it's better for me to microdose with food. It just helps, it digests better, I guess it hits you better. Take it with some lemon juice, do a lemon tech is what they call it. Anyway, I remember sitting at my kitchen table, and I remember just being really deep in thought, thinking about this. I was like, I gotta deal with this. I have to deal with this, or else this is gonna keep coming up, which is what psychedelics have done for me. It's like, I gotta keep dealing with this, or it's just gonna keep coming up. And psychedelics, mushrooms, it's there. You gotta deal with it. You have to. Well, you know, on one hand you don't have to, but then you don't get the benefit and effects of this stuff. You can run from it. You absolutely can. And I know people that have taken psychedelics and they run from it. They haven't experienced any of this stuff. So you do have to be open to it, or else you're just gonna feel funny and see things. Anyway, so all that stuff came up once I decided, okay, this reality is real. And then that like opened some sort of gateway into the next step, which was feeling all of that sadness and gratitude at the same time. And then really every single microdose from there was just a crazy amount of stuff coming up from like childhood, stuff coming up from teenage years, stuff like memories that I had repressed. I'd repressed them, and they were just coming up. And you know, the more research I've done, the more I know that like psychedelics, they trigger those hormones that allow your body to feel safe, oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, like especially oxytocin, the love hormone, if you will, and it's just that feeling, this maternal sense, I guess, of safety and nurturing. And so it allows that safety to happen, and then that's where the healing can take place. So I've microdosed probably 20 to 30 times now, and same thing. And now I'm at a point where I feel like I need to up the dosage because my body's getting used to that dosage, and I feel like I can go deeper. So I will keep you all updated on the journey, but that's my story for the beginning of my psychedelic journey. So hope you got something out of this. Hope it helps in some way. Can't wait to share more. So like, subscribe, share, and see you misfits in the next one.
Peace.